Talk about young shakes. Chicago 2 represent. Just change. And this for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city. Dog, I ain't never been a chump. And if he thinking I'm a chump, watch him get his head.
Hello, this is Lacy Rice with Rice Fame Group. And today's chat with HBCU champions features Coach David Oliver from Howard University in episode number 14. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me, Lacy. Look forward to the conversation.
Well, thank you very much for agreeing to chat with us today. And congratulations on your indoor and your outdoor championships there in the MEAC. It's a great accomplishment.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. It had been, since the 80s, since the women's program had won those conference championships. So just glad to be kind of getting us back on the path where we once were and turn us back into a great program.
Okay. Well, Coach, first of all, we would like to talk a bit about your career, your actually athletic career, being an Olympian, and then your coaching career.
Perfect.
And so, let's start off with your personal track and field career.
Well, background, I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. Track and field was the last sport that I picked up during my high school days. I loved football, basketball, and baseball. Those are the sports I picked up before I stepped foot on the track. But of course, as we see, that track was the one that ended up taking me, the furthest. My high school coach was named Betsy Freeman Allen, at Denver East High School. She got me involved in the hurdles. When I went out to first start running track, I was a long and triple jumper. Definitely wasn't good at that at all. I tell the story often. My teammates nicknamed me DJ Scratch because I was always scratching my marks because I couldn't get on the board at the competition. So when I first started, I think, it was about my junior year or so, early on when I first was doing that. But then we had the shuttle hurdle relay. I forget the meet where we were at, but we had a team full of really strong hurdlers at my high school. For the high school level, I think we were pretty good. We had 3 of them. We needed a 4th one for the relay. So Coach Allen, she put me on there, and I didn't know what to do, but she kind of told me, hey, just set your blocks like when we do sprint stuff at practice, and you run your 8 steps to the first hurdle and take 3 in between. And so I went in the meet. It's not like we did any training beforehand, but I went out there and did that. And so when I got done, she was like, oh, I think you have a new event. So I was a former long and triple jumper from that point forward. And I became a hurdler. And, I wasn't like a superstar or anything, but I still remember my first race that I did. I won in a little triangular. I ran like 17.4 at a triangular meet, the first time. And it felt good because, going from somebody that people kind of made jokes about and, about being DJ Scratch and not really contributing to the team, to now you're somebody that's putting points on the board and during triangulars and things like that. It was good confidence booster. Football was always, pretty cool, and was always, pretty good on the team, my junior year and things like that. So then you go to another sport where, now you're at the bottom of the totem pole, and it's like, oh, wow, this is kind of foreign. But then nobody can make fun of me anymore because then I was the best, eventually just kind of went on to, following year going to the state meets. And, I got 3rd in the 110 hurdles and I think like 5th or something in the 300 hurdles as a senior. So it was like cool, and that took me to Howard University. Wasn't somebody that was really recruited at all out of the high school level because I didn't have the performances, that I really didn't get good until my senior year, kind of later on. So I'm just very thankful that, Coach Mike Merritt out here at Howard brought me in as a track athlete, and, was able to just continue my ascension, on this level in college. I look back at a lot of the top ranked kids in my class. By the time we became seniors in college, I had bypassed all of those people and, was all American out here. So, and then just had to start all over again on the elite level, going from, from the top, close to the top of college to go to the pros and right back at the bottom again. And then just build and work my way to being one of the top on the elite level. That was just kind of the story of my career. I think that's why now transitioning to coaching, that I can kind of relate to the student athletes and kind of what they do and go through on this level. Because, I wasn't a top high school kid, wasn't, then I, became one of the better ones in my state, came to college, it wasn't like the absolute best on the team, and then built myself into being the best, went to the elite level, wasn't one of the best, and built myself into being one of the best. That's just kind of the story, and it's kind of taken me through, and just thankful. And I think that just has a lot to do with my mental toughness, and I just want to be really, really good, and that's what I strive to be every single day. I think that's just something that's innate. I don't know, we have a lot of conversations about nature or nurture. I'm not really sure where it came from, but it's just always been in me. When it comes to back down or having quit in me, I don't have that much. So it's I'm just thankful.
Okay. Well, that's a great story, and a lot of athletes should be able to take a lot from that, because they might not be the top athlete in the state, or they might not be the top this or top that, but then they might get in that right environment where boom, they blossom and everything else. And being a coach myself, I know that that's happened to quite a few of my athletes who weren't top athletes, in high school and everything. They go to the right collegiate program, then boom, all of a sudden they're winning all these medals in conference and all Americans and all these other things. So that's great. That's great inspiration. So can you tell us a bit about your coaching career?
Oh, well, yeah, it's I'm just, thankful for the opportunity to be back at my alma mater and running this program. I'm a big believer that timing is everything. And that's what's led me to the point of being kind of where I'm at. I was still running on the elite level, and, it was national championships in 2017, USA champs. And, I think I got like 4th or 5th out there. And I just was like, man, I'm done. Body's breaking down, getting hurt a lot. So I collected my stuff. My family was there, and I told them, I was like, yeah, that's my last race. This is like the end of June. And then say it was probably it was 4th of July weekend, like right after the 4th, because I was, at my mom's place and stuff with the family. And then, Howard University was, reaching out, looking to converse about kind of the program and steps to, that we could take, so I'm very just thankful to Kerry Davis, our athletic director, and Dr. Frederick for, extending the opportunity for me to be in this position to come back to home and lead us back to a resurgence. It's not like it was something that was planned, or that I say, yeah, I'm a, quick run in and I'm gonna go and do this coaching stuff. They didn't even know I had retired I didn't tell anybody, so he just called out of the blue. And so it was like, wow. So I always felt like this must be meant for what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be, doing the coaching stuff and leading this next generation of student athletes that's coming through this track program at Howard University. I just felt like it's just meant to be. So I mean, we're having success. This was end of it's the 5th year here, with the COVID stuff and everything. We got the coach for 4 years, my staff and I, and we've gone from a program even on the men's side, which doesn't get as much, notoriety as our women do at this time. But, our first championship, we only scored 1 point, on the men's side. And, now we're runners up, scoring over 100 and some odd points a handful of championships later. Those men on that side of things are really getting it done. Of course, the women are winning championships now. We've gone from like kind of a lower middle of the pack, low end team to, winning the conference championship. And it's just been, I feel like, a steady process, just trying to get the right student athletes in. And, and one thing is that I'm hard, man. I run a tight ship. I don't like a lot of nonsense, and it's not for everybody. That's it's not for everybody, but I refuse to sit here and the amount of hours that my staff and I put into this, day after day after day to, run a rinky dink type of program. I do not sign my name up to nonsense. I don't sign my name next to any BS. So it was tough that first year, like sitting here like, man, it's like, wow, we are really, we really have a long way to go. But I'm willing to just put in the time, and I'm a process person. The results come from the process, and I see the process. I have an outlook, and I have a plan of what we should be doing and where we should be at, and I just keep my eye on that and just make sure that we're just staying on track to what the process is, not really getting too worried about the outcomes. But and we've been pretty successful here.
Okay. So as far as your coaching staff, and I usually ask this later, but since you mentioned them, can you tell us a bit about your staff there, Howard?
Oh yeah, absolutely. With Jessica Cousins, our associate head coach, and does assist me with the sprints and hurdles, relays, everything, because in those event groups, there's so many events, you need a ton of hands on deck. She came from University of Arkansas, was an All-American. We ran on a couple of USA teams on the elite level. So, she has the same mentality and mindset that I do when it comes to this, is that, it's not really about the front of the jersey. It's really just about what's on that left side of your chest and what's between your left and right earlobes. Those are what determines your success. So it works extremely well. Coach Stevens, he's an alum of the university, our head cross country coach. Has been here for about 6 months now, and has really groomed the program, taking over from one of my good friends and alum of the university, Andrew Murphy, who's now the head coach down at Alabama A&M. They're going to do big things down there, but he got the distance program and that on track. So now he's handed the baton off proverbially to Coach Stevens, a guy that he's mentored, and now this fall, hopefully we can start adding cross country championship trophies to the ones that we won in indoor and outdoor track and field. But those are full time. But we've got a lot of help from people that just go kind of unsung. Like Franklin Rivers is our jumps coach. He just volunteers at the moment, and just kind of out of the love of the kids and the kindness of his heart, he's developed an amazing jumps program. Coach Danny Stokes with the throws. I think our throws program is top to bottom, probably the best in the conference, and has been for a few years now. He's just volunteers with us and gets those kids going, and so it's a lot of folks. Track and field, it's like it's 21 events, men, 21 women. So you're talking about 42 events that you got to try to coach. They're all different. So it's really all hands on deck, even when it comes to a strength and conditioning standpoint. What somebody's going to do over here in a speed power event's not the same as what somebody will do in a aerobic event, or what somebody will be doing that's a thrower. So it's like I try to tell a lot of kids in high school, it's a 42-week season kind of in college. If you're doing it right and you're doing well. So it's just, you got to be committed. And I think I have a really committed staff, and hopefully we can just keep the momentum from this year that we've had and keep it going for the future.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I guess I guess you do. I guess the program does start as soon as the university lets the students come back, and you don't. And a lot of times you don't end until after school's over.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we just had our returners. They just wrapped up a couple of them just wrapped up their season last week at the USA Championships. So and our conference championship was 6 weeks ago, and our conference championship is after graduation and things like that. So we're going from the time school starts to the time school ends. That's why having discipline and just that is the key factor when you want to be successful in this sport. You have to have the discipline. I tell them a lot, with those elite level dreams that you have, and they better come with an elite level of sacrifice, because you're gonna have to make it when you show up to anybody's campus in this sport on the Division I level, or any of the Division I, II, III, JUCO, NAIA. It's all the same. You better have the elite level of sacrifice to match those things up, because you can say, I want to be an All-American, or I want to do this, I want to run these times and do this, but what you say and what you do must be congruent. And that's the biggest thing. You can say whatever you want, like they say often, I can't hear what you're saying because your actions are too loud. It's true. And there's a reason why our sport has probably the highest amount of turnover in college athletics, because high school doesn't prepare you for what's to come on this level. I've been recruiting. I try to be as frank and upfront as possible with the parents and the athletes. Like, you could be the best in whatever state you're from, because it's mainly due to the fact that 99% of the people you compete against suck. You can go on mile split. It's probably what Texas is the best state for trackers. For argument's sake, it's probably 100 pages of kids on mile split. I think it probably goes 50 deep per page. It might just be that first page of kids that's probably going to go run, say on the Division I level or something at some point in time. I don't know for a fact. I'm just saying. That means that out of 100 times 50, that's a whole lot of kids. When you talk about only that first page of 50 are the ones that are going to go off to the Division I level and actually compete. So you got to go from, being in the top 1% in high school in your state to, now you joined up with the top 1% from every state at every school in the country. So you got to be able to get to, back to being in the 1% of everybody in college now. So that's extremely hard. It's extremely hard, because every school you go to was good wherever they come from. So you gotta be able to sacrifice and be willing to get it, or it's just not going to work out.
So, and you alluded to some things earlier, as far as your own experience, transitioning over what you just, talked about, which is one of the things that I myself preach to a lot of students, student athletes and coaches. Like I said, I coached on the middle school, high school, and collegiate level. And was when I got to the collegiate level that my eyes were actually open to some realities. And the fact that, in certain states, they just they're not that deep.
Mm-hmm.
And they, you have some coaches who are upset because, one of your major colleges, major universities, not recruiting certain kids who are top in the state. It's like, well, have you looked at their competition? Because, for you guys, and this is one of the things I admire most about track and field coaches, especially, like I said, coaching on the secondary level. For us, our job's not on the line. Mm-hmm. We have quite a few bad seasons. We're not necessarily going to get fired because they will have a hard time finding someone to replace us. But you guys, if you don't bring it,
yeah.
So,
yeah, it's true. I mean, I think it's roughly about 300 Division I coaching jobs in the country. And it's probably 1 million track coaches. So, and everybody's got skills and talents and things like that. But to me, I don't think the X's and O's is what really matters. When you're, say, I only know my situation at Howard. I remember in the early conversations just with the AD and the senior women's administrator at that time, just asking about, bringing coaches, right? You come to Howard, you could have all the X's and O's that you want, but are you able to make people like move or whatever? If you come in and you contact some alumni, are you going to be able to make them move at Howard just based off because you came from whatever the best school in the country, you were a top assistant coach there? More than likely not. But I mean, for me, our alumni is strong. They know who I am. They've been supporting me for so long that they're almost willing to do whatever is needed whenever I ask them, because they know me, and they believe in what I can do because they saw it. And I think especially at HBCUs, that's important. You gotta make the alumni move, and they ain't gonna do it just because, oh, I was a good coach at some other school, and they gotta believe in you. And so that's one thing that I felt like even coming here at Howard was, as soon as I was reaching out and, to the alumni and things like that, they were all on board. But yeah, I mean, that has nothing to do with X's and O's. I know you were talking about like recruiting and stuff earlier, and, every school's got their restrictions, but, here you got to have a bunch of kids that can get it done academically, because, you'll probably more than likely lose your job here for, having that academic stuff slip before you would the athletic stuff, because that's one thing we don't compromise on is that graduation rate better be high, that GPAs better be high, because we pride ourselves on that here at Howard. The student athlete is for real here. That's about 50-50 student athlete. You got to get it done on both sides of things, but as coaches, we like to win. So, we're never going to sacrifice that either. So that's what I mean. But I said earlier, like the student athlete's going to have an elite level of sacrifice. You're going to have to, if you got something to, I don't know, practice or something in the morning, whatever, you have to use the word no a lot, because that's the most powerful word in your vocabulary, because you're not going to be able to do everything, because, you come here as a freshman, you might have gotten a great scholarship and had the opportunity, but there's no guarantee that in the subsequent years that you're going to be on that scholarship if you're not getting it done. So we got to figure that out early on. And then when it comes to recruiting, I just stay in my lane. I know the type of kids that we need and can get in here. And at this moment, it doesn't make much sense for me to be in the living room trying to bring in, 11-2 high school girl running in the 100 when I'm sitting in there with, Texas and Florida or these other schools. I'm just wasting my time and resources, to be completely honest, at this moment. So it's a tough game. Recruiting is very, very tough. And I know a lot of parents and coaches think that their kid's the best thing, since sliced bread. And I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't know who's the fastest high school girl in the 100, but I mean, you see what it takes to score at the national level. You got to be running 10 seconds, to make it to the finals. I don't know if there's any in that range, kind of in the 10s or whatever, but that's the type of competition you're looking. You got to be able to go to a whole new, another level. And that comes from the mind, I think, though. One day I hope to get there where I'm working with some, 10-second 100-meter running women, or some 9-second guys and things like that. But the game is tough. And now with the transfer portal and things like that, I can just, there's a kid in there that's already been at the national level. Well, and at the national meet, well, let me go on ahead and invest my time and efforts and money into this person, because I know they can get it done. Recruiting just a crapshoot. Our 4x4 is amazing. They ran, 328, and 3 of those young ladies wasn't recruited out of high school. You just develop talent, which is what we do here. And that's my favorite thing to do is watch kids develop, because the more and more they develop, the more they buy in, and you don't have to worry about them saying, oh, well, I'm heading out, I'm going to the transfer portal or something. So I'll stick to, find some 11-9, 11-8, girls, and, maybe some 10-7 guys, 10-6 guys, and just try to develop and get them to that level for the time being.
All right. Well, you actually brought up a subject that I usually ask later on in the interview, the transfer portal. So how, I know you said that you look in there, from time to time, see who's available. But have you lost any athletes to the transfer portal?
We had 2 athletes that went to the transfer portal. Let's see, the first one, I forget what year it was, but it was just not a good fit, and then just this past year, encouraged one to go to the transfer portal as well. So it's just been 2. It's not something that we really got to deal with here that often. It's mainly just been like a fit thing. But we get a lot of kids that come from there as like grad transfers or things like that. And I've only logged on to the site, I think, once or twice. I don't really spend much time. Yeah, and I don't know, recruiting's just not my strong suit. I just like to coach, and I just coach whoever shows up. Whoever comes out there to train. I think that as long as I got a basic contract, do what I ask, when I ask, how I ask it to be done, and you'll be successful. I don't know what that level of success means. I can't tell you you'll be a All-American or a national champion or a conference champion. I don't know. But you'll get better. You'll be much better when you leave than when you got here. So I just really like the coaching part. I guess I have to improve my game from the recruiting standpoint. But Howard is a great school. I could tell a lot of kids in that, make that 40-year decision, not just a 4-year one. Why am I sitting here right now kind of directing and running this program is because I went to Howard, and we always look after our own. We're going, so that's one of those things is we that 40-year decision, not just, oh, I'm here for 4 years, I'm gonna get my degree, I'm gonna move on, and I'm never gonna come back or be back in the in the fold. That's just not with HBCU alums in general. We're always still involved in the university. We're coming back, every year, making yearly journeys to the homecomings, everything. We're always involved. So, that 40-year decision is key.
Okay. Well, I know I'm a graduate of Kentucky State University. And so, and I've been involved with my alma mater, like you said, deeply ever since I left in '94. And but I do remember the time that Tori Edwards was the head coach there, and she went to an elite high school meet at the University of Kentucky. Those kids, once they saw her and their coaches, they just started flocking her like bread, like birds to bread. They just started flocking to her, and I mean some of the top kids in the country, and they're, oh, I want to run for you at Kentucky State. I want to run for you at Kentucky State. So I know, I know what you're saying about the recruiting part. I've been there. I know how tough that is. But I also know, you have a big name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. So.
that just gets your foot in the door. But everything's on the internet, so the name doesn't matter. You got to be producing results. You got to be able to have the ability to. When somebody goes to your TFERS page and pulls up your university and they see what your kids are running, right? It's all open. It's all there for everybody to see. And they can go right on the mile splitter or something, and they can go and see what these kids was running in high school. And they'd be like, oh, wow, they're really developing talent. You can have a name and not do anything but rest on your laurels and just you think that you can get by off of that. But no, it's just the game is, people are too smart. And the information's out there and the resources are out there. So, that might get your foot in the door. And if somebody comes there, you better be able to produce some results. Because that's what the bottom line is. This is a results-oriented business. And there is no, oh, well, the coach held me back, or they didn't give me the playing time, or they didn't scheme up stuff for me to put me in the best situation, X, Y, Z. Nah, this is you stand out there on that runway or in that sector or on that starting line. You stand there by yourself and you got to get it done. Now, if you give the kid with a great game plan, put him in a good mental space, you know, those things matter, you know, kind of more than anything, but they got to produce. And you got to put him in the situation to produce. I think that we do a pretty good job, you know, kind of developing the talent. But at the same token, I can't run any races for you. I tell them all the time, I'm just the GPS. I'm Waze, Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever. Yeah, type the destination in. If it said to make a left and you want to make a right or do a U-turn or take a pit stop or, you know, whatever, that's on you. This is the program. You know, if you did 100% of what's asked from, you know, from the warm up through the cool down in the weight room with your diet, your rest, all that stuff. If you're doing every last thing with that, I highly doubt that there's any way that you'll be unsuccessful. Now, if you want to go out and do all the other nonsense and think just because I went to practice for an hour and a half, 2 hours that, oh, I'm going to get better. That's not how it works. Look at the people you got to try to beat. You know, you got to try to beat these folks. And if you're a 10-5 guy, you got to run 10-2 to make it to the first round. So if you ain't putting in 10-2 effort from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep every single day, then you can forget about it. You might as well just be content with being a conference level kid and just leave the national aspirations to people that's really, like I said, leave them elite level aspirations to the folks with the elite level of sacrifice, because you clearly don't have it. And I think just being straight up is the best thing to do, because a lot of these cats, you know, they can be in la la land sometimes and think, oh, well, you know, well, I'm doing everything in practice. I'm doing all this stuff in practice. It's like, yeah, but you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing. You know, I talked to a lot of them. Track and field in college is the same as class, you know, and we got a lot of kids with 4.0s and all those types of things that are very successful in the classroom. So when they're not having success in class in the track, you know, I'm like, hey, you got that 4.0, right? So what'd you have to do in order to get that? They're like, oh, man, you know, I went to all the office hours. I did all the extra credit. I was meeting with my professor. I was in, you know, class all the time doing X. I was like, okay, cool. Now, did you take that same mindset and intensity to track and field? Because I've never seen you outside of the 90 minutes we practice. So I'm the professor, right? What office hours did you go to? What meeting with the professor did you do? If you take the same thing and just move it to a classroom, just in an outdoor environment, did you put that same 4.0 level of intensity that you did in the classroom out here in track? They're like, oh, nah, I didn't. So it's like, okay, so why do you expect to have a 4.0 track field? You a 2.0, you put in a 2.0 effort just by showing up to practice. Yes, you do that and you do a damn good job at it. And you do no complaint, you do the workout, X, Y, Z. But that's the bare minimum. That's average. Everybody does that. Every kid in the country goes to practice. Every kid in the country goes to the weight room. You know, what are you doing outside of what everybody else is doing that's going to push you towards that 4.0? And they're like, oh, dang, I never even thought about it like that. I was like, yeah, exactly. But that's how I look at it. So you put in 2.0 effort in. That's why you're a 2.0 track and field athlete. The ones that I see or the coaches see, we see them outside the track. You know, this stuff, can just notice when they walking down the steps if something's wrong with them and can make adjustments or whatever. Those are the ones that always do well. They always do well.
That you know is great. You know, hearing that you straight up with the athletes and everything, and that's actually not something that I've actually really heard too much from that particular standpoint with the 4.0 classroom, 4.0 on the track. So I think I'm gonna have to steal that. And I tell people all the time, though, you know, being also an educator, you know, the best educators and coaches that you have, you know, they're also good thieves. So
yeah. Well, nobody's inventing anything, man. Every somebody's done. somebody's done everything that you're trying to do. Nobody's out here reinventing the wheel and doing all that stuff. Now there is some innovations, and you always got to stay on your game, but it's the same. It's just like with training. I don't get caught up in all the training theory type things and this, that, and the third. It's like, man, we kind of do the same thing year round here. You know, we gonna just, because that's the same. Just with the race, you need some acceleration, you need some maximum velocity, you need some speed maintenance, you need some sort of special endurance. So I'm gonna touch on that every week, all year long. You know, of course, it's gonna change the density, the intensity, all that kind of stuff. But as far as like, oh, you got to do this and that day and do this, and it's like, yeah, I don't really get caught up in all that. I like to get caught up into making sure that it, you know, mentally, because it doesn't, like, if your mind's not there, it doesn't matter what practicing or you can have the most sophisticated program in the world. And if the kids aren't there mentally and they're not bought all the way in, it doesn't even matter. Mm-hmm. So if you got to make sure that they know when they show up to the line or when they show up that they have what it takes to get it done. You know, that's the most important thing. That's what I like to work, you know, hey, focus on this, but also we don't do much hand holding here either. Because to your point earlier about like with the recruiting, you don't want to get it done. There's fine. There's way more kids in the country and in the world these days than it is scholarship dollars. So you don't want to get it done. You want to do it your way and not my way. Hey, just head to the transfer portal. You know, I'll come and replace you probably in about a week or so. It'll take me to bring somebody here this fall that is doing pretty much what you're doing. So, you know, I like to just be straight up because it's just the easiest way to be. And, you know, it's no gray, it's no, oh, well, I think, or, oh, well, he told me this and this happened. It's like, nah, nobody's going to tell you that I misled them when it comes to recruiting. Nobody's going to tell them I misled them when it comes to what we about to be out here doing in practice. I tell them all the time, this is Division I athletics. This is not recreational sports. Everybody don't get a turn. You don't just, you know, we have travel squad, a travel party, so you could be on the team and never compete. That you got to earn that right every day in practice. You earn the right. And if you want all this stuff and you want to go to the big meets in Texas and Florida and all them, like them ones that go to that, the kind of national level kids, then go be a national level kid and you'll get those opportunities too. And yeah, it ain't your birthright to be out here doing this.
So let's transition over into talking about your seasons this year, especially your indoor and outdoor seasons. How did those go overall? The various meets and everything that you competed in.
You know, honestly speaking, that coming in this, let's say last summer, we were, you know, looking at the roster. And I was like, yeah, we should win the conference meet on the women's side, you know, so it wasn't like it was a shock or surprise or anything that we were able to do that. You know, we have a very talented group of student athletes on the women's side. You know, so it was like, it's mainly just trying to make sure people are healthy, that your next generation of kids are grasping what needs to be done, because they'll end up being the leaders of the program a year or so afterwards. So it's like, that's what I like, is just, I wanted to focus more on them developing leadership qualities and being in charge of stuff, because I don't like to be in charge, you know, like I don't run track. This is you guys' team. You have to control your team, because when I was an undergrad, it was kind of the same. Like, our coach didn't have to get involved. You know, if somebody's out here BSing around, that you need to call them out and hold them accountable, you know. And I think that's one of the issues that I found with the kids this generation. They don't want to, I don't know if it's like step on toes, or they just, I don't know, but I'm like, you sat here and watched this person do this, and you didn't even, and you just allowed it. And you're supposed to be a leader or an upperclassman and stuff like this, and this is what you allowing freshmen and people like that to do. It's like those type of people just, it's not going to work for me, you know. So it's like, so yeah, that's like just exposing them to, you know, nice high level competition, but really just trying to lay the foundation of like what the expectations are So I don't have to do a whole bunch of talking that the ones that's on the team, when the people that come behind them, that they lay the foundation. All I got to do is just coach you, and I don't got to, because if something's going wrong, you coming down them steps 1-2 minutes late, a teammate's going to check you. I don't got to do it. You know, and then you get to a point where that's where I feel like you have, that's where you have a program. You know, we're not there yet. You know, like, you know, our upperclassmen, you know, they weren't, they're really fast. They did well. They continue to do well, but not, they let too much little things slide that I never could let slide when myself or some of my teammates that came in with me when we were fresh, well, even freshmen, sophomores, you know, I don't believe age has anything to do with who's leaders or who, you know, could display. I don't care if you're a freshman, if you know, you got to start that now. But yeah, so it's like we still have a ways to go, and on that side of things. So yeah, we won, we did well, you know, had like, you know, 6 All-American certificates this year, and but still it's not where I envision us being as far as from an infrastructure standpoint. And I think that's the key, is the infrastructure has to be right, and you got to start building. So that's why I like to focus on, is just looking. I just look to see, hey, who is out of these people is going to be the one that these kids are going to follow next year or the year after that. And that's important in recruiting. That's why I like to just recruit kids that come from programs where they are accustomed to winning. They expect to win. They might not be doing a lot of the winning, but they're around a bunch of kids that, you know, or that they see every day, like working and going to the winning New Balance or Nationals or, you know, whatever, all these high school things, going to the state meets and doing well. I like those kind of kids, even if you might not be the best, you know what it looks like. And so they, you know, and those ones turn out to be really good leaders. So, but yeah, that's what was important. So I think we did a good job identifying that this year. So, you know, next year we'll see in the fall when we start up, like, hey, who's going to be the person that is going to hold or people that hold these folks accountable to, like, on the track, off the track, because you can't be sitting out here doing well and got a 4.0, but your homeboy or your homegirl's out there, you know, ineligible academically. Like, how's that possible when y'all are supposed to be brothers or sisters or whatever? You're around this person all day, you know, and you know they're not going to class, or you know they're not doing their work, but you just allow them to do that. I didn't have friends like that when I was in school, you know, and when I was slacking, Murphy and them was on me. And if I did any dumb stuff, it was because I did it, and they was like, nah, I don't think you should be doing that. Just like when I was here, undergrad, my sophomore year, you know, me and my good friend Lance Grossi, was a jumper, and we missed practice. You know, we missed 2 practices, and the coach kicked us off the team. You know, and we were killing. You know, I won my freshman year, won the conference, you know, in the hurdles and scoring points and doing all kind of things like that. But one thing he always said was like, hey, this program was around well before you. It'll be here well after you're already gone. I mean, it'll be here well after you're gone. So it's like, dang. And I was, you know, that was like, oh, hold on. What you mean I got to go back home? I only missed 2 practices in October. You know, I'm going to come out here. I'm going to run fast. I'm going to win. But see, that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't matter. And it only took me that one instance to figure out, like, oh, okay, you know, this is not for games. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do. So I've always just been coached like that. And, you know, I have the same mentality with the kids I coach. And it's like, why do I got to put up with y'all's dumb stuff and BS? And y'all ain't even winning. Shoot, I was winning and got put off the team. Shoot, my coach wasn't messing around with me, and I was putting double-digit points on the board and bringing medals. And this is what happened. Shoot, I'll never forget that. You shoot, October 18th and 19th of 2001, man. Shoot, missed them 2 days of practice. And that changed my life for, you know, forever, because you talk about getting some act right. But before that even happened, that fool Murphy was like, hey, nah, I wouldn't be doing that if I was y'all. You know, that don't make no sense. He was like, nah, y'all shit, but did it anyway. And thank goodness for the coach at University of Maryland at that time, because, you know, he's like, hey, Mike, come on, get in, guys, you know, another chance. And so, I mean, we got suspended for like the first 2 weeks of the year, you know, in January. my sophomore year, and that was just kind of embarrassing because you had to bring all the snacks and carry all the waters and do all that stuff. You did. Everybody's looking for you because they like, hey man, and I'm sitting there in street clothes. They're like, oh man, what did you hurt? Is something wrong with you? It's like, oh no, I got suspended because I was missing practice. You know, like that was just so stupid, man. But you're a sophomore. They call it sophomore behavior for a reason. And so I just, I had to run my head in the brick wall one time before I figured out, like, oh yeah, nah, this ain't what I want. Because I don't know. I don't know what I'd have been doing, man. But sometimes you need those sort of situations to really kind of rise up. And from that point forward, never, was pretty much out of line. Hell, I think I was only late to one more practice again in my life, even on the elite level. It was like my first year because, it took a guy to the airport and came about 5 minutes late to practice. But that's it. I missed unauthorized, and I never came late again because I didn't want that. I couldn't imagine going back home, living in my mom's basement and stuff again. And you done tricked off an education at Howard University because you want to skip out on 2 practices to go hang out on the yard. That's about as dumb as I don't know what.
Well, sometimes, we have to go through adversity to open our eyes, but then again, as you shown, for some people they might need that type of motivation in order to separate themselves. They say that the cream always rises to the top.
Right.
So some people might have had that situation, and they might have been, like you said, at home, never heard from again or anything else. But, your quality people, when they face adversity, they overcome that adversity and they move on. And so I admire that a lot.
Yeah, it's one thing to have adversity. It's another thing to have self-inflicted wounds, man. That wasn't no adversity I went through. Shit, I did that to myself. That wasn't nobody like I didn't get hurt and had to recover or had a freak accident and did like, nah, I just was doing dumb stuff and almost paid the ultimate price. So I don't even count that as no adversity. That's just being stupid. And that's exactly what I was being, 19 years old. You think you know everything, you think you know the ropes, like, oh, shoot, this college stuff is cool. I got this figured out. I came in here wrecking shop freshman year. I'm the man, XYZ. And you got told real quick that is not the case. Not the case whatsoever. So, yeah, I ain't even going to give myself no props talking about coming through adversity or overcoming adversity. Nah, you was just overcoming being a dummy.
Okay. So, tell us about some of your top athletes this year.
Mm-hmm. Let's see where we can start with, like the women. Of course, we got Jessica Dubai. She graduated. She's getting ready for the World Championships in a few weeks, running for her country of the Ivory Coast in the 200 meters. That's a young lady that came in very raw. Averaged probably about close to 13 seconds in the 100 and close to about 26 in the 200. Now, she's our school record holder in the 100 at 11:25 and the 200 at 22:75 or 76, something like that. And ran a 50-point anchor leg on our 4x4 a few weeks ago at the national championships. But that's just development. That's 5 years of running track, high school, 4 years of college competing and turn into one of the best. Now she's got some opportunities to do this on the elite level. So, we'll see how that goes for her. Jessica Wright, 400 hurdler of ours that, just coming back from the USA championships, and she got 9th at the NCAA championships in the final. So, she's, dropping 2 seconds every year, at a minimum 2 seconds. So next year, hopefully she can, get up there close to the top of that podium. That's a goal. If you talk about an athlete that's close to perfection, she's it. Never complains, comes in, works hard, just does whatever's needed, all the time. Seems to take care of herself off the track. Of course, I don't really know what these kids do when they leave practice. I don't know what they might be doing, but at least looks like she takes care of business in the 22 hours away from the track, which, those are more important than the 2 hours that you spend on the track. So yeah, she's incredibly successful. You know, 3-time All-American now. So yeah, she was the first kid I called in recruiting. The first call I ever made was to her because you know, her high school coach was James Carter, a guy that was on the elite hurdler as well. And, you know, he put me on to her. I was like, okay, yeah, if James is giving her the stamp of approval, this is definitely somebody that, and, you know, of course, he was ultimately right. You know, when it comes to long hurdling, he's a guy that knows exactly what he's talking about. So, and she's been nothing but, you know, a pleasure since she's been here. You know, we got some Kyrie Dunbar's a short hurdler who's you know, made it to the quarterfinal round this year at the Nationals, and so she's gonna be a star. Or next year, in her last 2 years, she's gonna surprise a lot of people. As long as she just stays the course. You know, we have so many good ones. It's kind of it's hard to like really point to so many of them. But the short sprints got a great group. Had 3 freshmen that comprised the 4x1 in parts this year, and Tiffany Ray Pittman from a local woman from the area that made it to the U20s out in Oregon in the 1 and the 2. So she's expected to kind of step right into that gap that Gabai is leaving. Next year for the years afterwards. On the men's side, one thing we do here well is hurdle. So our men's hurdle group is really strong. With Dylan Beard, he was in the Nationals. Jermani Bird, Cameron Davis. We've got they're the ones that's kind of making it to that point. And our 4x1 squad, they broke the school record that has stood for a long time. Those guys came together. Richard and Jalik Perry and even Zach Hawkins, Ashton Daniel. So I think those guys, we come in and work again this year. I think they should be finding their way to the NCAA first round at a minimum this year. That's the expectation. So, jumps were, we got throwers, jumpers. We're pretty. I think we're a pretty well-rounded squad. We'll see what the incoming freshmen can do for us, and just try to keep on the success that we had. Because winning the championship, now the guys got second. Now it's time for us to start. Collecting up some of these first place trophies as well. It's hard. It's incredibly difficult, but got to just be plugged in. We just can't fall victim to doing dumb stuff. Us guys, we do lack maturity at this age, and I think that's what gets in our way more times than not, is just the lack of maturity. In the 22 hours that we're not doing track stuff, the guys are perfect for the most part when they come inside the gate for practice. They go hard, they work hard, they do everything, but it's those 22 hours away that we're lacking for the most part. So hopefully another year of maturity that we can start really buckling it down and really getting towards trying to win a conference title on that men's side too.
Okay. Well, tell us a bit more about about the conference, about the MEAC. Who are some of your chief competitors?
Oh, well, Norfolk State, Coach Kenny Giles out there has done an amazing job. I'm not sure how long he's been there, but I think he's probably won at least 30, 40 conference championships between men and women, cross country, indoor, outdoor. They just had an outstanding program. So they're incredibly strong. And it's always some other schools that have very strong event areas. So it's really just year to year because you never know. It's just like us. We just program that was a couple of years ago, 1 point getting last place, and you look up 3 conference championships later, and we're getting a runners-up trophy, and have a lot of people getting medals and doing things like that. So it's really just never know. That's why I don't really like to focus on what everybody else is doing. We just got to try to do what we do better than anybody else. Because it's gonna be, you can't be everything to everybody, but we can at least try to get the job done and be the best Howard men program, women's program that we can possibly be. And I think that'll take us far. But my goal, the conference is cool, but I like the Nationals, man. I give away every conference championship that we won if that meant that our season ended there and we didn't advance to the first round and things like that. Having your season stop in that second week of May that's not success for me. I want a nationally ranked program. I want to be able to get it done on that level. And that's what the most important thing is for the program, is get as many people to that NCAA level as possible. That's what I regard as being successful, is doing that.
Okay. So just to get to the NCAAs, to me, it is a difficult venture for a lot of programs, because you have to go through regionals in order to make it to nationals. Can you explain that?
Well, yeah. Well, the NCAA first round and quarterfinal rounds are, one is one section in the East, one in the West. So you got to get in that top 48, to get you a slot out there in the first round. That's key. I mean, we got to get to that level, because everything is just kind of about evolving. And the first year you can make it to that level, then you got a taste of it. So then the next year we got to try to advance, at least to the quarterfinals, and then we just kind of elevate like that. So got to get in that top 48. Then you got to be in the top 12 in the quarterfinals in order to make it to the semifinals out in Oregon or Texas or wherever the national finals will be held. So it's hard, but the main goal is to get as many people in that top 48 as possible. Because that's when you start really developing. And that was what was good for us on the women's side this year. We were entered in everything, both relays and everything from 400 hurdles down, the 1, the 2, the 100 hurdles, 400 hurdles, the 4, both relays. So it's like, yeah, that's good. We need to keep that going now. Like, can we get, some jump in there now? Can we get a couple people in the events? Can we get, it's just more, you just build it that way. And then you start trickling more of those people from that 48 into the 24, from that 24 into the 12. And we start talking about All-American status after that, because that's it's just hard to get from that 24 to that top 12, because I mean, it's only 12 slots for every school, every athlete, for us east of the Mississippi River. So I mean, whether you're talking about Florida Gators or Florida A&M, Kentucky Wildcats or Kentucky State, it's all the same spots that we're battling for. There is no HBCU, whatever, Division I AA, whatnot. It's all the same in track and field, and we all battling those same schools with those major national name recognition type programs. So it's our job to make sure we're developing talent to get there.
Okay. So yeah, that I said that definitely makes it a lot more difficult, especially with the number of programs that are out there. And just to think, a lot of programs don't even have opportunity of getting in that top 48. So yeah.
Well, you got to pick something you want to be good at and just to dedicate all your time and resources to doing that. You got to just kind of look at the state you're in, see what they might be good at, and be like, okay, identify what the time. You just got to research, be strategic. All this is strategy. And you can win a national championship if you have like 7, 8 of the right kids. That's all you need. I think Florida's men's team this year, I think they had maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10 guys maybe that were scored points out there. I don't know. I don't know the details, but it's not like you need 30 people. You just need 9 of the right men or 10 of the right women, and you could be a national championship program. So, I mean, if you want to try to be a regional type program, then just try to get a handful of kids in an event area that you specialize in and backwards and forwards, and then you build it out from there. That's why at our men's team, what was the thing we was going to do? Short hurdle. We were going to make sure that we had that. We try to dominate the short hurdles on the conference level and things like that, and then try to build outwards from that. So now, the last couple of years, we've had 4 different guys make it to the NCAA first round and to the quarterfinals. We got a guy this year. Now next year, let's try to push that even further. So you just got to be strategic and just kind of know what you know, and can't be everything to everybody. That's just what the bottom line is. So just know yourself and stick to your script. Like I tell them kids, you're in heat 1, lane 4. So you can't worry about what's going on in heat 3, lane 1, or whatever. That's your lane. You stay in your lane. And that's all you worry about. Same thing for coaches. Just stay in your lane. You just try to dominate your lane, and then see what can happen from there. That's just my opinion anyway. I mean, I don't know right, wrong, indifferent. I don't know. That's just what I believe. So that's what I do.
Well, yeah, because I know there were some surprises this year. Of course, Florida won the men and the women's at the NCAA's, but that 4x1, I don't think anyone was expecting USC to be the winner. In fact, the announcers on television, they didn't even in the run up, they didn't even mention USC as being one of the top relays in that particular race. It was all, I think it was Florida, and I forgot the other one, maybe Texas or somebody.
Probably.
Yeah, wasn't even mentioning USC, but when they went through that tape.
Yeah. Hey, that's the thing. You got to go through the tape and get it done. USC is coached extremely well. That's the thing, is when you're lining up there with the 8 best teams in the country, all it's going to come down to is somebody makes a mistake and you don't. And that's how you win. We're talking about thousands of a second, hundreds of a second. Just coming back from Eugene at the USA Championships in the men's hurdles, it was separated by like 2 or 3 thousandths of a second. But who got to be on the team for the World Championships and who is going home and, going to watch it on TV. And it comes just down to who's going to make one mistake when another person kind of capitalizes and does it. And these people are all extremely coached. Well, you do not get to the NCAA level, into the finals, or even you don't even get to the meet on accident. You got to be highly skilled just to even get your feet in a pair of blocks out there at the NCAA championships. Just like if you try to make like making the semifinals or the finals at the USA championships, nobody gets there on a fluke. Those are highly skilled, highly trained athletes. So it's just really on that day when the gun goes off, are you going to execute or not? That's just kind of what it boils down to. You seen even at USA's, look at a guy in the like 400 champion Allison from Florida. A week or two earlier, got runner up in the open 4. Don't know what the time was, 44 something, and then comes down to the finals at the USA Championships and drops a quarter of a second or more off of his personal best in one race. Because just executing. And he's coached extremely well. I was probably the best coach in college, and got it done in that 43 seconds. Not saying the other guys that ran there that didn't have as much success, that they just on that day, it just didn't work out for them. And that's the beauty and the horror of track and field. You could be so prepared, just like Jessica Wright on our team. Her worst race of her entire season happened in the finals at the NCAA championships. Then goes to USA championships and runs her second fastest time and third fastest time she's ever run 2 weeks later. Maybe it was bad coaching on my part. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I didn't have her prepared or I don't know. But it just was bad timing. So, that's beauty and the curse of track and field. But I loved it. I thrived on that because I love the pressure. I love going there and your heart's beating out of your chest. And you're like, oh my God, I hope I can get it done. I got to get it done. I love that feeling. I thrive on that, but it's not for everybody.
So, as we get ready to wrap up, there are a couple other subjects I do want to I want to touch on real quick. And once again, take your time on this. Take as much time as you need, because I think this will be helpful to someone. Can you tell us how you handle mental health with your athletes, especially since it's such a hot topic, especially these last few years? And of course, Simone Biles was the one that kind of illuminated it on an international level. But there were people that were having a lot of mental health issues even before that came about. Can you talk about that a bit?
yeah, the mental health is, I mean, it's without the mental health and without your mind, your body's not, I think I talked about that a little earlier. You're not going to be able to perform to the level you need. You got the most sophisticated training program known to man, but if the mind is not there, or it's not going to work. But also as coaches or teachers or people like that, we can't have an out of body experience and know if something is going wrong or if it's not, if it's not where it needs to be. That's why, to my point earlier about 4.0 athlete and student and stuff like that, when you have that kind of athlete coach relationship where the kids come in, you see them, you get to know, you can identify and just be like, hey, let's just take today, hey, let's just, hey, because we have a great department here with Dr. Lisa Daniels. She handles the stuff for us in athletics, and she does an amazing job. It's available nearly 24/7 for the student athletes here, and but you can't force them to take advantage of that. That's one thing I wish we could, is like you force them to go there just like you force them to go to the weight room or practice or wherever else. It would, because I just really think it's got to be something with like social media or something. I don't know. I listened to like athletes like Sydney McLaughlin. She was saying, about 3 weeks to a month before our championships and things like that, she just gets completely off, just because I think it could be like a negative space or I mean, I don't know. I'm just thankful I didn't suffer from those issues like with, anxiety or depression, things like that. So I can't even sit and tell a student like, oh man, I can relate to what you're going through. That's what we have professionals for. So I like to advise them to go to the professionals all the time. But like I said, I wish we could make them, but you can't. And it's tough. I think it's really tough being a student athlete or a student in general, or just a kid in general, in this generation, with the stresses. And I don't know, it just like, man, whatever happened to being a like kind of a young adult or a kid, what happened is like, I was very joyful with having the opportunity to go to college and just do this. And, I just, now it's just like, I don't know, it feels like it's like a job or something. I don't know. But it's unfortunate, but I think it's got to be social media, got to be playing a big time role in these things. And I wish we just have the ability to just kind of say, all right, enough. Let me hop off of here and let me just focus on myself instead of, because every time you look, I look at these, go on there, and it's like, oh man, everybody seems to be having the ball and the time of their life, and you're probably sitting there thinking like, oh man, I'm just sitting here, I'm not even doing anything, I don't get to be as popular, as cool as them. I posted this, how come I only got 30 likes on my thing? Or I'm gonna take it down because I don't have enough likes on it. A kid told me that, but I was like, but I thought you just put that on there for yourself. And it's like, why does it matter if anybody liked it? So I can't relate. I'm 40 plus now, so I guess I'm out of that realm. But it's tough, man. I just really hope people get the help that they need and really be able to identify that you need the help, and don't lie to yourself like that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get through it. Oh yeah, it's nothing. I'm gonna get, like, nah, we all need help. That was when I first got here. I was ready. I had I had the plan. I worked on it for, a month before I was getting here. Yeah, this is what we gonna do for the first 6-8 weeks. I had everything planned out. And I at practice one day had like 2 or 3 student athletes coming up crying on my shoulder about things. It's like, oh, hold on, I wasn't prepared for this part of it. I was very prepared for the X's and O's part, but not for dealing with the Jimmys and the Joes. So I wasn't prepared. So I had to go, and we have 60 student athletes, 70 student athletes between men and women, whatever the number is. If each one of those kids have a problem, then I have 70 problems. They might have one each, but now I got 70 problems I got to try to deal with. Now, who can I talk to or unload on, and these stresses and stuff like that. So I just went and got myself a mental therapist, just because it was just cool to sit in there and just unload, judgment free. I'm dealing with stuff. I'm up here, my family's in Florida still. I was up here the first year, just by myself, and got my son. He's growing up life at home in Florida, because I just came up. I mean, this all happened in like 6-7 weeks. From the time I retired to when I was coming up here do this. So it's like, wow, this is a situation I had never been involved in, but I at least had the self-awareness. See, I don't really lack from having self-awareness. I know what I'm strong at and what I'm not that strong at. So so that really helped me out. So I was able to identify it, but hopefully the younger people are put in a position where they can understand that they're not alone and that they can get the help and the resources they need.
Okay. Well, Coach, we as we prepare to wrap up, we have talked about people on your staff, and you mentioned people within your administration, but this is also your particular time to give personal shout outs to whoever you like to shout out. So.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, the shout out goes to the student athletes, because without them and their dedication, hard work, the sacrifice, like I talked about, everything, then nobody's going to be sitting here interviewing me on a HBCU champion shorter show, because we wouldn't be winning without them. It's really about them. And I think that's why we do have success, because, we don't make it about us as a staff. My Wikipedia page is closed. All my races, I'm not spiking up ever again. So I don't need you to go out here and do this for me. You got to do it for yourself, because, I'm going to be fine whether you get it done or not. You got to be getting it done for yourself, and you have to do it for yourself. So they've kind of bought in, and they've done what it takes. So they get the biggest and the loudest and the longest shout out, because they make the whole thing go. The student athletes, of course, the staff, and my family dealing, all the sacrifices. It's just like I was an elite athlete. I'd be gone from home months at a time, running around the world doing all this stuff, and come back to be a coach. Now I'm still gone, maybe not as much, but still in and out all the time. So it's just it's tough, but definitely shout out to them, and of course shout out to Howard University, the alumni, the administration that have really assisted in helping us get to this point.
Okay. Well, I would personally like to shout out Mr. Derek Bryant, who the SID who set everything up. He's if he's not the best, he's definitely one of the best that I've ever seen. So I have to give him a shout out, and his cooperation through all this has been phenomenal. And so with that, Coach, I do want to once again thank you for coming and chatting with us today. I also want to congratulate you once again on your championships, and I'm sure that this will not be the last time that we chat about the championship.
Yeah, hopefully not, right? Yeah, hopefully. Anybody, I say, man, there's the saying, like, well, one swallow doesn't make a summer. One race doesn't make a season. One season doesn't make a career. So, you got to be able to have the ability to repeat doing what it is you did. Repeatability is the most important thing in this sport. So, you can't go out here and run a 9.5 one time. You got to have the ability to, and then you can't go back to running 10 flat. You run at 9.5, you better be hovering in that area, for a long, long time. So hopefully, we just keep it going where we're just won the championships, and we still stay in that range, not falling off and be, go back to where we were coming from. We got to make sure we don't do that.
Right. So, well, you've done a fantastic job, especially going from one point to championships and runner-up and everything. So, much kudos to you and your coaching staff and the family there at Howard University. And definitely, once again, want to thank you for coming on with us. And, just hope that you have a great season next year.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Now I'm talking about young shakes. Chicago 2 representatives. Jesse James. And this is for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gon' first round. For my city, dog, I ain't never been a chump. And if he thinking I'm a chump, watch him get his head lumped. For my city, dog, I don't you get it, say for my city. Cause I feel like I love her so much, like I owe her so much for supplying her touch. I will always respect her, I will never neglect her. Bet you hear her naming like every one of my records. No, I'm not stunting, ain't no future in your frontin', right? Gotta get this money, watch me get it all night. Planet flying top flight, higher than space stations. That's why I gotta grind, cause I need and I hate waiting. Really, I was debating, didn't think I could make it. Now that I know I'm capable, y'all can love and I hate it. For my city, I'm baking, I'm holding about 50. And if I blow 50, then it's all for my city.